Namaste and hi friends, it's Parvati here with Visionary Veda, bringing you your February 2021 Vedic Astrology report. In this report, I am going to speak about the planetary energies at play. It's going to be a very intense month for a few reasons. Not only do we have this Mercury retrograding into the sidereal sign of Capricorn tomorrow, but we have a planetary stellium. So we have a planetary pile up in the sign of Capricorn. We have Mercury, Venus, Sun, Jupiter, Saturn, and even Pluto is sitting there. Even though we don't really talk about that in Vedic astrology, it is of significance. On the 10th and the 11th, I think starting actually the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, the moon is going to join, giving us a beautiful new moon, Amavasya, on February 11th. So that's all of the planets in the sign of Capricorn, except for Mars, which is in very strong in his sign of sidereal Aries, Ketu, which is very strong in his strong co-owner sign of sidereal Scorpio, and Rahu, which is also very strong in his sign of Taurus. Not only do we have all the planets in Capricorn, but we have what is known as a Kala Sarpa Yoga happening until the end of March. Now, if you've been watching my other videos, you know I've spoken about this. Just really quickly, for those who do not know about it, it's when all the planets are on one side of Rahu and Ketu. So where all the planets are on one side of the nodes. It's called Kala Sarpa, which means the serpent of time. And it puts pressure onto the planets because they are kind of like hemmed in between karmic points. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to talk about each one of these events. I'm going to speak about all of the dates, and then also the significance of what you may be feeling in your life and how it could be looking in the world at large. Okay, so let's really get started. Tomorrow, February 4th, Mercury enters Capricorn. Mercury has been in retrograde since January 30th, okay? It's going to be retrograding in the sign of Capricorn. It is currently combust. Not only is Mercury combust, but so is Jupiter and Saturn. What does this mean, combustion? Well, all of the planets are going to get combust. Mercury, Saturn, Jupiter are right now. And that is when they are so close to the sun that they get overtaken by the sun's rays or the sun's power or the sun's energy. The sun is shining so strong and they're so close that their powers get sort of burnt. What that feels like is a frustration. In fact, this is what a lot of you might be feeling right now with the Mercury going retrograde and these three planets being combust right now. Is a lot of frustration, a lot of anxiety can be coming up for you, a lot of confusion, a restlessness, an uneasiness, an unsurety, a fear, like impending sense of sort of fear or dread, but you're not sure what it is that you're picking up on. It's because the energies of these planets are rendered impotent. They cannot effectively cast or lend us their energies because the sun is outshining them and sort of burning up their rasa, or burning up their vigor, or burning up their power. These planets are going to be combust until about the middle of the month. In fact, on the 14th of February, the 14th, 15th, its sun is going to move into Aquarius. And when sun moves into Aquarius, we are all going to feel a little bit lighter. So if you're feeling all of this energy, just know that you're not alone. Try not to make any hasty decisions at this time, okay? Venus will also go into the combustion. That means Venus is also going to get close enough to the sun on February 14th. So don't expect so much on this Valentine's Day, right? If you are surprised, if it's feeling good, just count your blessings. But really don't expect too much because of this combustion of Venus. I would just, yeah, just be happy with what you are getting if you're getting any energy from your partner or significant other. When Venus is in Capricorn, and especially when Venus is with the Lord, which is Saturn, it can show a very sobering effect on Venus, even though Venus and Saturn are really good friends. So it is possible that if you do meet somebody around this time, or you do make any kind of romantic connection around this time, that it could show the potential of being a very practical but long-term, like a sober love affair, like a practical love affair, not necessarily one that's, the honey, well, everyone has the honeymoon period, but not necessarily one that sweeps you off your feet per se. It can also show relationships of convenience. So like relationships more based on how one person can help the other person and vice versa, versus that of just pure love, right? Because Capricorn's a very practical sign. And when we have Saturn sitting there, which is the Lord of Capricorn, it makes Capricorn all the more practical. So all the signs are going to be having this sort of a practical tinge to it, especially with the sun. Now we have a lot of what we call in Vedic astrology graha yuddhas. Okay, these graha yuddhas means planetary war. Now what is a planetary war? It's when two planets are in the same degree vying for space. So it's when one planet is on top of the other. We just had one of these planetary wars on this winter solstice, December 2021, December 21st, 2021. Sorry, December 21st, 2020, when we had Saturn and Jupiter conjunct on the same degree. Now that all of the planets are occupying Capricorn, all of the planets are going to be conjuncting one another, and especially the sun, because the sun, while it moves through Capricorn, is going to be conjuncting each of the planets in Capricorn, with the exception of Venus. But Venus will be combust. Okay, I hope this is not too much information. I will talk about like the general energies, but there's just so much going on in the sky, and I want to be able for those who are interested in learning about how astrology works to know this information as well. So bear with me. So we will have a graha yuddha between Sun and Mercury, as well as Venus and Jupiter. Okay. Venus and Jupiter especially is going to be felt because they are both the great gurus or teachers of the planetary pantheon. And one is the spiritual teacher and the other is the material teacher. Venus being the material one and Jupiter being the spiritual one. When they're occupying the same space, those two aspects of our lives can come at odds. So the spiritual versus the material, which way is going to win? I am holding out for the spiritual to win. So throughout this entire transit, with the sun combusting these planets, how does it look in the outward world? Plus the Kala Sarpa, right? Well, not only do we have these planets but in Capricorn, but aside from the sun and Mercury, all of the planets are going to be in Shravana Nakshatra. Shravana Nakshatra, if you watched my last video, is the nakshatra of the moon. Okay, so the moon is going to be our minds. The moon is our minds. We have Rahu aspecting, giving its ninth aspect, which is a very strong aspect onto Capricorn. All the earth signs are going to be heavily affected by all of this planetary stellium happening in Capricorn. So Rahu is in the nakshatra of Rohini, and Rohini is also the moon's nakshatra. So what does this tell me? Shravana is a very gentle nakshatra, and it is the nakshatra of Lord Vishnu himself. So whatever sort of, and Rohini, Lord Brahma, so it indicates a very spiritual time, not a very outward or materialistic time, or one where we try to advance outwardly. Shravana is symbolized by the ear. It's telling us to listen to the signs, to listen to the messages, to listen to our inner guidance, because that is going to be accessible to us now. Now, I don't know if other people out there are feeling it, but I am certainly feeling it. And it's feeling like the lifting of the veils, or the thinning of the veils, where we at this moment are able to access information coming from our deeper source, coming from a more enlightened source, coming from our higher selves, or coming from spiritual connection. This is very important to pay attention to, because all of these planets are going to be affecting the moon or our mind. It tells me that outwardly things can happen, things can manifest, which cause tension or pressure or anxiety or confusion on the mind. Okay, that's usually an indication of when the mind gets affected. When does the mind get affected? When something is happening. So the sun, it indicates our leadership. All of these planets in Capricorn right now are indicative of major changes and overhauls. We're going to start looking at all of the significations of these planets in a more practical way. How can we be practical, and what steps, what work, what steps do we need to put in place to progress? It is a very sobering, sombering, serious time, okay? But it's good to be serious sometimes so that we can get our plans together, see clearly, and think practically. If you're having anxiety, just write down the things that you're concerned about and then revisit. Mercury Retrograde is a great time to revisit how to change your plans to make things come out in a practical way, step-by-step way, okay? So sun is our leadership. A lot of pressure is being put on our leaders at this time. Why? Because sun is in the sign of Saturn. It's sitting with Saturn, and sun and Saturn are opposing. Capricorn, like I've mentioned before, it's the time of, it indicates established established anything, like established outlets, media outlets. Oh my gosh, I'm going blank. Excuse me. Not only that, established media outlets, but established business outlets, industrial outlets, established order, established ways of doing things. Okay. So those two energies are at odds, because Saturn, sun is the leaders, Saturn is the masses, it's the public, it's the workers, it's democracy. So kingship, leadership, sun, and the people, democracy, the masses, Saturn. These two energies clash, all right? So it can show tension between authority and the people, okay? Then we have the significance of Jupiter, law, order, knowledge, right? Righteousness, morality, ethics. So our laws are being reviewed. Are they practical laws? Are they laws that serve the people, Capricorn, Saturn? Or are they laws that benefit the establishment and benefit the established order? So all of that is going to be under review and change. Mercury, obviously, media, communications, commerce, the way we conduct commerce, the way we get our media, all of that is going to change. And Venus, money, luxuries, comforts, women, relationships, right? All of these significations are also going to change. Now you can see it happening in the world already, at least here in the States, right? You've seen that Facebook is like going to need to start like breaking down. They have too much media power. And they're considered a monopoly, right? So they're going to have to decentralize. You see what else just happened that caused decentralized? Oh, the markets, the big hedge fund crash, right? So financial institutions, established financial institutions, Venus, Capricorn, Saturn, right? The establishment, all of those are coming under scrutiny by the people, by the masses, right? So all of these structures that we've been relying on, which we have been used to running our worlds, are going to start to shift and change and look different. In about a year from now, these structures will have been reestablished, and we will start to get used to different ways of relating, different ways of doing business, different ways of communicating, different laws, different regulations, different morals, and different ethics, okay? Rahu giving its ninth aspect really adds to the confusion and also the fear factor in all of these changes. You see, if there were other planets aspecting this stellium, that like Jupiter, if it was giving its aspect, we would feel good about the changes. But because it's Rahu, we're confused about it. We don't know what to believe. We're fearful of these changes. So just keep that in mind. Now, I wanted to mention that the last time we had this amazing, powerful stellium happening in the same sign of Capricorn, is also the last time we had Jupiter and Saturn together in the sign of Capricorn, and that was February 1962. In 1962, we had all the planets, including Rahu, in this stellium. So not only were we having this pile up of planets, but on top of that, in 1962, there was an eclipse happening, okay? Because Rahu was involved. This year, 60 years later, we don't have the eclipse, but we have the drishti of Rahu. So we have the aspect of Rahu, plus we have Pluto sitting there. And Pluto sitting there shows a huge change that's going to affect us for generations. What happens last year and this year, 2020 and 2021, like I said in my December 2019 eclipse video, is going to make changes that are going to affect us for the next 20 years. So be prepared. There's only so much we can do at times of great change, right? These changes are happening on a huge level, on a planetary level. And it's going to affect us all individually in our own ways, according to our own karmas. The one thing I can say is to learn how to adapt, right? It's survival of the fittest are those that know how to roll with the punches, how to go with the flow, how to surf the waves, how to ride the bumpy ride of life. So be adaptable. The more adaptable you can be, the more flexible you can be, the more attention that you are paying to what is happening, the faster you can adapt to what is changing. All right. Mercury going retrograde. It goes retrograde until February 21st, and then it goes direct in the sign of Capricorn. Mercury going retrograde is a great time to review your plans. It's a great time to take stock and take a look at what is going on and see the changes. We all are getting a foreshadowing of what's happening. We can all, if we tune in, we can get a sense of how things are going to be looking and moving and shaping up in the future. And so we could take advantage of that right now, especially right now, because sun illuminates the stellium, right? So we have that thinning of the veils. We have that ability to really hone in, listen, Shravana nakshatra, listen, quiet ourselves. Don't get all caught up in the hoopla happening outside. Be aware of it, but don't let the fears overcome you. Okay? Shravana and Rohini, Brahma and Vishnu, listen. Be quiet. Be calm. Take time, right, to drop into yourself. Ask for guidance. Ask for guidance. You will receive it. You will. Because there's no point in acting hastily right now, especially with that very powerful Mars that we have in Aries, okay? A lot of us are going to want to act hastily. And there is an appropriate time in when we should act quickly with that Mars in Aries, right? When we see things and we check in with ourselves and we're like, no, this is the right thing to do, then we move quickly. But don't move or make any moves when we're in fear, when we're in confusion, when we're in anxiety. That's the time to really try and calm yourself and listen. In my last video, I spoke about a pranayam, or a breathing exercise called Analom Vilom, in which you breathe into your left nostril, you close, you hold, breathe out of your right, and then breathe into your right, hold, and breathe out of your left. That's one cycle of pranayam, of Analom Vilom. If you want to do that exercise, it does help a lot in balancing both of the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous systems, if for those of you experiencing anxiety. Now, in order to calm down the moon or the mind, the best mantra, or one of the best mantras to do, is Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. This helps to placate or pacify our minds. If you are going to do this mantra practice, I recommend doing one round of japa mala, right? Or one round of 108 mala beads. If you can, optimal would be 3 rounds. Try to do it at the same time every day. But if you can't do it at the same time every day, at least do it, right? It will help a lot. Right now, since we do have the ability to get messages from the other side by listening, Shravana Nakshatra, I want to really encourage you all to put into practice, even though it may be even a small spiritual practice, to help you connect, so that you are not feeling a victim of the external forces or a victim of external circumstances. All right, so thank you for bearing with me during this video. Just to recap the 3 major things happening this month: we have Mercury retrograding until February 21st. We have the big stellium happening in the sign of Capricorn, in which almost all of the planets will be combust. Right now, Mercury, Saturn, Jupiter are combust. Later on in the Venus, starting on Valentine's Day, Venus will be, later on in February, Venus will be combust on Valentine's Day. And so that is really putting a lot of pressure on the establishment. Also, your personal established ways. Let them change and evolve as well. Puts a lot of pressure on Capricorn. So we're going to want to start to look at things more practically. And then we have the Kala Sarpa Yoga, or the Kala Sarpa Dosha, in which all the planets are on either side of Rahu and Ketu, giving it a lot of pressure. So we're going to be under a lot of pressure to change, evolve, and come up with practical ways in which to adapt. So that is going to do it for me for this report. Thank you so much for tuning in and for listening. I am sorry I'm a little bit late with this report, but I've also had a lot of Mercury retrograde glitches going on, as I'm sure you must have been feeling it too, and you're probably still feeling it now. I sure am. We're in the middle of it. So drop some comments, share with me how this has been feeling for you, how it's been showing up for you in your life. As with anything, some people are doing really well with this. Some people do really well under pressure. Some people have their own planetary placements which actually thrive under these types of aspects and conjunctions. And if you want to find out what your chart looks like and what the planets have in store for you for February and beyond, please reach out, send me an email at the email below, and I will be happy to schedule you for a session with me looking at your own birth chart with the tools of Vedic astrology. Okay, well, thanks so much. Until next time, enjoy the life, take care, and wishing you all a very happy February. I didn't mention is that the moon is going to join this stellium on February 11th. We're going to have a new moon Amavasya. So the 9th, the 10th, the 11th, and the 12th is when we're really going to feel it, okay? But this is a time when we really need to slow down and listen. Shravana Nakshatra is where this new moon is going to be happening. So stay tuned for my report on that in a few days. Okay, thanks so much. Enjoy the life. And until next time, take care. Okay, namaste. Bye-bye.